What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bios3 Raw TV. We got a question from Josh about growing into a show. He says, what do you think about growing into a show? Do you think it's possible to do it for a natural guy? And will the gains be more significant if you bulk up in the off-season, say 30 to 40 pounds, or is it better to stay somewhat lean in the off-season, around 11%? Kevin Levrone just made a video talking about this. And does this only pertain to people on gear as far as growing into a show? Now, your answer to all these questions are, it depends. It depends on your genetics, how fast you lose fat, how fast you gain muscle. It depends on what kind of training split you have, what kind of diet you're on, whether or not you can recover, all these different things. Now, can a natural guy grow into a show? Yes, they can. If you're off season, you're forcing your body to stay, say, 11%, 10%, maybe a little bit. You know, if you're a natural guy, you probably should stay even leaner than that, maybe around 8% body fat, because you're trying to get really hard, and it's hard to lose that last bit of body fat if you're trying to lose 30, 40 pounds. So, if you're at 8% body fat and you start your diet and you're going down, your body fat drops to 6%. You can now add food to your diet, which some people will be like, but you're not in a calorie deficit. No, you're not all the time. So if you add food to your diet, you're going to go ahead and build up a little bit. We saw this happen with Jay Cutler this year. There were periods where, for the 2013 Olympia, he would kind of shrink up and then get bigger, and shrink up and get bigger. Chris Aceto had him essentially fluctuating his calories so he could grow into that show. He didn't lose any weight for the show. He was still the same weight. You know, I'm actually probably a little bit heavier than he was walking around for the rest of the year. He was like 260 all year, and he thinks he was like 263 on stage. So essentially, he grew into that show, and you know, it goes through different periods. So yes, it can be done, but you have to know when to adjust diet, when to push, when to back off, when to cut, when to bulk. And it essentially is a bulk when you're trying to get into the show. The whole 30 to 40 pounds thing, for a natural guy to lose 30, 40, 50 pounds for a show, they're going to diet off some muscle. Now, the average guy. Now, people genetically are inclined to lose, whether they are or not genetically inclined to lose, body fat faster and maintain muscle, again, boils down to genetics. I can diet very hard and lose a big amount of weight and not lose as much muscle as other people. That's just how my body works. At the same time, I can put on weight very quickly. My body is kind of interesting like that. It'll go wherever I want it to go. I can push it. And I can do extreme things, and it doesn't respond bad to the extreme things. So it's not the norm. So the normal, the average, and that's not the average. The average natural bodybuilder is going to want to stay as lean as he can and eat his way up to the show rather than trying to diet down. Now, someone on gear, it depends on what gear you're taking also. There's all these fat burners and metabolic boosters and this new shit that I don't even know about, like these myostatin inhibitors and stuff that may completely change the face of how the body works as far as dieting for a show. You know, I've heard guys backstage talking about, yeah, man, you know, I didn't even do any cardio, and I fucking ate Taco Bell, and I ate pizza, and blah, 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 blah. And they peeled on it, they looked phenomenal and win the show. Then I've heard other guys say the same exact shit and look awful. They look like they didn't even diet for the show. And when you listen to them talk about their drug stacks, because a lot of guys start talking about, you know, I'm taking this, you should take that, like everybody knows what to take. They're both taking loads of shit, but one guy looks like shit, one guy doesn't. So, and they're both eating garbage. So it's like genetics boils down to whether or not you're going to get lean, get super lean. I mean, anybody can get super lean and sacrifice the muscle and string themselves out, but can you get lean and maintain that fullness and roundness to have an overall good package? That's the question. And I do feel like if you diet up to the show and you grow into the show, you can have more of that full look than if you try to drop a lot of the weight and you have that stringy look. So if you're coming down in weight, it's very hard to fill back up and get that full look. So, you know, it just depends. You got to try different things. It basically is whether or not you know your body. If you know your body, you can make it do anything. So that's the first thing, is to learn how your own body works, not how, you know, Lee Haney did it. Now, Lee Haney actually did talk about how he grew into a show, and that's how Kevin Levrone figured out how to grow into a show. Kevin would, you know, he would bulk up, strip down, bulk up, strip down, bulk up, strip down, and then he tore his pec. Okay, and we actually talked about this in a video. If you Google Levrone report, it's on his channel, and I'm sitting there asking him questions, and I asked him, "Is it true that you didn't train most of the year?" You know, because you don't know what magazines are telling the truth or not, and I wanted to know straight from the horse's mouth. And he said they had torn his pec and his tricep, and I think a part of his lat, when he was bench pressing like 600 pounds. After that injury, he was out for like 6 months. I mean, couldn't even train. He had an arm in a sling. And he got a call basically saying, I think it was from Weider or Weider Promotions or whatever, saying if he didn't show up at the Olympia, which he had a contract for, he was null and void. He no longer had a contract, and he was in violation of that contract that he signed. So he was like, well, shit, I only got like 4 months left to get ready for the Olympia. That's the best show on the planet. But Kevin's not a big eater, so he doesn't eat a lot and get fat. So when he was out with that surgery, he essentially lost the muscle, but stayed very lean at the same time. Like 7% body fat, 8% tops. I mean, he doesn't really go above 8, although people go, oh, he's fatter. No, he holds some water, but he's not fat by any means. And when he went right back to training and eating, he said he couldn't even bench the bar when he walked in the gym. When he went right back to in the gym training and eating the food again, his body responded by growing into the show. He got 3rd place at the Olympia that year. That's when he realized, wait a minute, I don't have to, bulk up and kill my joints with all these crazy weights in the off season to try to, be better and better and better, because now I'm injuring myself. I can actually take time off and then train this way for 4 months and grow into the show. And Lee Haney was the same way. He would stay at like 6% body fat, and after the show he would kind of bring his food down a little bit and give his body a little bit of a rest from trying to process all that food while he's getting ready for the Olympia. And he would train heavier but with like less volume. And then as the Olympia came up, he would add the food back in, and he said as he grew muscle, of course, lean tissue burns more calories than body fat. He would lose fat just from that. Include a little bit of cardio, and then he would just train. Back then they trained for a long time, like 2.5 hours a clip, sometimes twice a day. And then he went to straight 6s, which was he would train 6 days a row, super intense, getting ready for the Olympia, and he would grow into the show like that. So, 2 guys genetically blessed, who obviously were taking anabolics, could do something that extreme, but natural guys can do something similar, just not on as grand scale as those guys can. BioStraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. www.biostraining.com is the blog, and we're out.